All right, let's jump right in with a pretty wild idea. What if I told you that good isn't just, your opinion versus my opinion? What if it's something as real, as observable, as gravity? That's what we're digging into today, this idea of a science of the good. We're going to build a case for seeing ethics not as some mushy collection of feelings, but as a hard, objective feature of the world around us.
Okay, so where do we even start with an investigation like that? Well, first things first, we've got to ask a really fundamental question about what we're even talking about here.
So here it is. Is good something you just think about? Like a big abstract puzzle we kick around in philosophy class? Or is it something you actually do? Something that only really means anything when you're making choices out there in the real world? And look, this isn't just splitting hairs. This question gets right to the core of what ethics is even for.
Well, the answer is it's both. And I know that might sound like a cop-out, but it's not. The key is that thinking about the good and doing good, they aren't separate activities. They're completely connected. Think of it like a loop. They form this one single rational system that helps us understand and hopefully achieve what we could call human flourishing. The theory, the thinking part, it guides our actions. And then our actions, in turn, go back and test and refine that theory. They're in constant conversation with each other.
Okay, so if we're going to build this rational system, this science of ethics, we can't build it on sand, right? We need a solid foundation. And that means we can't start with just what I feel is right or what our culture says is right. No, this approach is way more radical. It grounds the idea of good in reality itself. I know that sounds a little out there, maybe a bit abstract, but trust me, this is the crucial first step. We have to start with the metaphysics of goodness. Now, hold on. When we say goodness here, we've got to be really clear. We're not talking about morally praiseworthy in the way you might typically think. Not yet, anyway. In this framework, goodness is a measure of how fully something is what it is. It's a measure of its perfection, its actuality. Think about it this way. A good knife has nothing to do with whether you use it for a good or bad purpose. A good knife is a sharp knife. Why? Because it perfectly fulfills its nature as a tool for cutting. It's fully actualized as a knife. The same logic applies to something like a friendship. A good friendship is one that fully realizes things like trust, loyalty, and mutual support.
And this leads us to a really mind-bending idea, one that Thomas Aquinas really nailed down. Basically, being and goodness are two ways of talking about the same thing. They're interchangeable. The more being something has, the more fully it exists as what it is, the gooder it is. Now, you got to see how radical this is. This completely pulls the rug out from under the idea that good is just a personal preference. Suddenly, we have an objective, observable starting point for this whole investigation.
And that is the absolute key for us today. If goodness, in this very specific metaphysical sense, is an objective feature of reality, just as real as mass or velocity, then what does that mean? It means we can study it, we can observe it, we can analyze it, we can reason about it. And bam! Just like that, ethics is ripped out of the realm of subjective opinion and placed firmly into the world of rational inquiry. It becomes a science.
All right, so if good is this objective thing out there in the world, the next obvious question is, how do our brains even latch onto it? How do we know it? Well, it turns out our intellect isn't just one monolithic thing. It's more like a toolkit with two very different but related tools inside. Each one is designed for a very specific job.
And here they are, laid out for us. On one side, you've got what we call speculative reason. Its entire goal is truth. It just wants to know, what is the case? It deals in big, universal ideas. On the other side, you've got practical reason. Its goal isn't just knowing, it's acting. It asks, okay, so what should I do right now? It's all about this specific, particular situation in front of you. I love this analogy. Speculative reason is what draws the map. But practical reason, that's what you use to actually navigate the terrain.
So we've got the map and we've got our compass. Now let's see how they actually work together. How do we get from that abstract map of the good down to the messy, concrete terrain of our actual lives? How does this theory stuff translate into the actions that actually make us who we are?
Because at the end of the day, talk is cheap, right? You can say you believe anything, but it's your actions, what you actually do, that reveal what you truly think is good. Our choices are the bridge between that abstract map and the real world. You could even say that every choice we make is like a little experiment, testing our own personal hypotheses about what a good life looks like.
Okay, this shows us exactly how that bridge gets built. It's a neat little logical process. what philosophers call a practical syllogism. Check it out. Step 1, the principle. This comes from our speculative reason, our map drawer. It identifies a universal good. For example, knowledge is a good thing to pursue. Simple enough. Step 2, the premise. This is our practical reason, our navigator, sizing up the here and now. It says, hey, this book right here will increase my knowledge. Now here's the magic. The conclusion isn't just another thought. The conclusion is an order, a directive for action. Therefore, I am going to read this book. That's ethics in motion. It's the whole system working right there. Okay, let's pull all these threads together. What have we got? We've got an objective good that's actually grounded in reality. We have a mind that has two different tools, one for understanding the big picture of that good, and another for applying it to our specific, messy lives. When you put all that together, what you get is a complete system, a rational, almost scientific method for figuring out our own flourishing.
So first you have that speculative reason. Think of it like a telescope. Its job is to give us a really clear picture of the target we're aiming for. It helps us form this objective understanding of what human flourishing is even made of. The universal goods like knowledge, friendship, health, creativity. It shows us what's worth pursuing.
And then you've got your practical reason. If speculation shows us the target, practice is what actually helps us hit it. It's how we take aim. It's guided by our experiences, and it's how we actually participate and achieve those goods in our lives. And it's through those thousands of daily choices and actions that we literally weave these goods into our character. We become, little by little, a more knowledgeable person, a better friend, a more fully realized human being.
And this is so important. It's not a one-shot deal. You don't just figure it out and you're done. No, it's a constant feedback loop. It's like a personal science of the self. Your actions and what happens because of them, that's your data. That data feeds back and helps you refine your big picture understanding of the good, which in turn helps you make better practical choices, which leads to better actions. It's this amazing, virtuous cycle of growth.
And that really brings us to the final big idea here today. If ethics is this rational investigation into our own nature, into our own flourishing, then isn't it the most practical science there is? It stops being some dusty, abstract class or a list of thou shalt nots. It becomes the most essential, the most personal, and the most practical science of all, the science of figuring out how to live a good life.